Okay, so here's another video. I've been promising that I'll upload one a week, and I've been failing just because I'm lazy. So, accountability. I'm admitting I'm lazy. I'm having trouble propping up my phone. So when it comes down to your firearm of choice, I prefer Beretta. It's just a me thing. I carried one for 12 years overseas and around America, concealed. Yes, you can conceal a full-size Beretta. I do it almost daily here in the state I'm in. You need to be proficient with your firearm. You need to be aware of the failures that could happen, whether that be jams or failures to eject if you have a semi-automatic, or feed ramp issues. If it's not cycling correctly and your magazines are nosediving, you need to know how to fix your magazines. You don't just need to know how to strip your firearm and oil it and clean it and reassemble it and disassemble it and put spare parts in. Those are very important things to know. But overall, you need to know how to fix a malfunction, because even a well-maintained firearm can fail. And now the Glock idiots are going to be like, oh, well, Glock's perfection, and it's never going to fail, and I can shoot thousands of rounds. Whatever. It's a mechanical device. There's springs, there's mechanisms, shit breaks, things fail. I have only had my Beretta fail 5 or 6 times in the 8 years I've had this one. And usually it was from something simple. My trigger spring broke once. I was out in the desert just shooting, just for fun. I mean, yeah, I was, target shooting. I was shooting at a gas can, an old plastic jerry can I had just for the hell of it, and I just drew circles on it. And the trigger spring broke while I was shooting. And there's a little mousetrap spring in there. Piece of crap spring, but it was worn out. My gun was completely clean. It was taken care of, I oiled it, lubed it, everything. And the spring broke. Trigger's just moving. Wouldn't come back. Wouldn't reset. Nothing. So I stripped it apart right there. Sure enough, the fucking spring was broken clean in 2 pieces. Yeah, I went and got a Wilson Combat spring for $12. Well, it's a little cam spring like this that pushes in. I've put about 600 rounds through it since then, and I've never had a problem with it. Well, again, had a problem with it recently. Took it out to the mountains here, and sure enough, it was one of my magazines. The magazine was clean and all, just the spring was going bad in the magazine. The spring was rusted. Again, it was old. It's a magazine I hadn't used in a while, and that's my fault. That was a failure based on me. Again, my Beretta was fine. It's a 92F. It's not rocket science to keep it clean. It's all metal. So pretty much, typical maintenance for metal things. Again, took the fucking magazine apart, got a new magazine spring, new everything for it. And it works fine now. Matter of fact, I'm going to clear this so those of you simpletons who think that I'm aiming at something when I have my camera propped up on something, we're good, we're clear. So, suck a huge one. There's nothing in here. So, the point is, this is the magazine. This is it. This is a very old magazine, and this is not one of my government military use only ones, but it's marked with blue because it's one of my Hollow Point magazines. And they're marked, so when I grab them, I can see what's in it. And here you go. These are what I carry: Hydra-Shock and Critical Defense. Frankly, I've very rarely had a problem with this firearm. Alright? And yes, I am chambering it, pointing it in a safe direction in my vehicle, and putting it back in my holster. Right here. Please feel free to have a nervous breakdown over that when I'm the only one here who could possibly get hurt from this. I'm a grown-ass woman. If I get shot, it's my fault. That's called responsibility, integrity, non-integrity, fucking, oh my god, I'm having a brain fart. I haven't slept in a couple days. Anyway, personal accountability. And this is another thing you need to realize when it comes to your firearm, whether it's an AR-15, an AR-10, some ShyTech International awesome precision scalpel, blah, 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 what the fuck ever. First of all, the more you pay for it doesn't make it better. I paid $480 for this firearm at a pawn shop. I've had it for almost 10 years now. We're a couple years shy, but I've had it for a while. And I've only had problems due to my personal neglect of the firearm. Thank God it didn't happen in an actual scenario where I needed it, but I've learned from it. I've found parts that are less likely to break, like the trigger spring. I'm not one of these geek out people. Oh my God, I've got $700 into my Glock and the coolest badass trick shooting, whatever. What the fuck ever, dude. I don't judge people that do that. If you want to spend your money on that, fine. I would rather spend the money on a good tent and some good gear. I am of the mindset, and this is just how I was taught, you only need one or two good guns. A handgun will produce a rifle. And if you disagree, well, you're wrong. But feel free to state your piece, because obviously you know everything. It must be great to be a know-it-all. Some asshole comes in Walmart or the mall, because these are where these things usually happen, because, lots of people, and that's what shooters like. I don't like calling them shooters. I'm a shooter. I'm professionally trained to engage a target and destroy. Oh, I got a text. Well, so much for that. That said, these people want a target-rich environment, which basically means there's a lot of bodies they can shoot. It's a 9mm, and a lot of people, the people with overcompensation issues, will say 9mm, 22, they don't kill, they don't have enough this, that, and that. I don't see them lining up to get shot by a 22 or 9mm. So, and if you put 4 or 5 in someone's face, doesn't matter if it's a 22, a 9mm, or a 45, or 50 American Eagle, it's going to do a lot of damage. And unfortunately, for those of you who like to talk ballistics all day, most of you have never shot a living human being with your handgun. So it's a bunch of smoke from a keyboard warrior, a black op guy who probably sits at home playing Call of Duty and Airsoft all day. I'd be shocked if you guys know the difference between a 338 and a 308, honestly, without Googling it. And again, if you know the difference, I'm not talking to you, so get triggered. Practice with your weapon system. Whether it's a Glock 19, a Glock 40, a Beretta 92, an AR-15 that shoots 5.56 or 300 blackout, or whether it's, a M240 that shoots the 5.56, or whether it's a fucking Dragunov that shoots 7.62 by 5.4R, it doesn't really matter. Practice with what you carry. I happen to practice more with my 12 gauge, and it's a pump, and my Beretta, because those are what I have access to train with more often than not. Just simply due to restrictions in either finances or ranges. The range here won't allow you to shoot a rifle. And my shotgun, I have to use lead shot, because it's basically like let's say it's like 50 feet, give or take, and they've got shredded tires in the back. It's an indoor range. You cannot shoot an AR there unless it's a 22. My AR is a 5.56. Can't really use it like that, so I have to drive all the way out to the mountains. Well, unfortunately, got a family, got shit to deal with, Just can't really afford to go out to the mountains every weekend and drop 100 rounds. It's just the case. So I am extremely proficient with my handgun and my shotgun. And this is where people are going to insert complaints about shotguns and distance and yada yada. Look, if I'm using a shotgun, you're well within range. The target is well within range, I guarantee you. If I'm using my handgun, I promise you I'm capable of achieving whatever needs to be done. And if it doesn't happen with the first trigger press, I'm going to keep doing it until what I want to happen happens. And usually that's the bad person stop being a bad person. Whether that's lack of blood in their veins, or they stop fighting due to pain or physical failure. I don't really give a shit as long as they stop being a threat. That said, all that, the moral of the story, practice, practice, practice. There's no such thing as perfect. Repetition makes reliable. Practice does not make perfect. Those of you who've been in a high stress scenario under duress, i.e. people fucking shooting at you and you having to decide whether to shoot back or not, adrenaline's a bitch. Yeah, you can get shot and not know you've been shot, but it's hard to focus unless you know what you're doing. And there's not a lot you can do to train for that at the range. short of doing 100 push-ups and 50 jumping jacks and then trying to hit a target. Trust me, it's a lot harder than you think it is because your adrenaline's going, your heart's going, blah, blah, blah. That's a pretty good way to train. But as far as all this center axis shit and all that, the John Wick stuff, that's going to get you killed. Don't even worry about it. Blading your stance is going to get you fucked up. Modified Weaver's retarded. So don't do it. Don't train that way. Square off, especially if you're used to wearing body armor. Square off with the threat. Don't try this shit because first of all, if you're shooting a rifle, even a handgun, it's going to go into your arm and you're going to lose a lot of your sight picture retention, I guess we could say, just for using big words. You're going to not be able to aim as well, especially if you have to fire a lot of rounds downrange and try and maintain a target. You're just not going to make it, I'm telling you. And I would hate to see someone die or people around them get killed because they want to try some cool, badass, fucking expendable shit. They're great movies. I love movies. I think they're fun. I love video games, but they're nothing close to real life. Practice, practice, practice. If you have to drive out into the woods and dump 1,000 rounds onto a tree stump, practice. But shooting fast does not equal shooting good. Take your time. Make sure you hit what you're aiming at with every trigger pull. Don't just go out there and be all tactical and shoot as quickly as possible and turn your handgun into a fucking machine gun. Because spray and pray does not equal accuracy. You're going to hit everyone around the bad guy, and then if you stick around, you're going to be going to prison because you hit a whole bunch of people other than him. They say there's a lawyer attached to every bullet. Fortunately enough, when I had to worry about stuff like that, lawyers weren't a concern. And they won't be if I have to defend someone in real life because I'm not going to stick around. I don't have faith in the system. It's not that I think they're out to get me. I just don't trust them like that. I don't. I'm also not going to have my guns taken and be detained for 6 to 12 months while they decide if I'm guilty or not. When I know I didn't do anything wrong. The guy came in trying to kill people. I killed him. I'm just not going to deal with it. You say what you want, but that's how I am. That said, be aware, people. Understand what can go wrong with your weapon, whether it's a handgun, rifle, a shotgun, a belt fed, whatever your system is. Be aware if you haven't been able to de-escalate that threat before then and you finally have to get to that deadly force encounter shit, be aware of what can go wrong and be ready to account for that. Sorry, you got to train for failure. You have to. You have to train for contingencies and be ready because you can be perfectly on point 100%. And something goes wrong. Just saying. Anyhow, Odin bless. Be aware, protect people. Love you.